Sec 2 NA, welcome to Congruency and Similarity. Now this is chapter 10 on your textbook page 199. Today in this video I'll be talking about congruency or congruent figures. Now what are congruent figures and what is congruency? Now when we talk about congruency, we're talking about two different shapes or two different objects that have the same shape and same size. But are they identical? They are not identical because they may differ in color. When we say that two objects are completely identical, means they are the same shape, same size, and same color. Everything else is the same. But in mathematics, our congruency is just same shape and same size. Like these two triangles that you see right now here on your screen. One is yellow in color and one of them is blue in color. They are not identical, but they are congruent. How do you know whether they are congruent? You see. Now first you will notice that they have the same shape and the same size. If you notice, all the lengths are the same and all the angles are the same. That's why they are congruent. Now there is a symbol to represent congruency. We call them, it's basically three lines. So we said ABC is congruent to PQR. So A is the same point as P, B is the same point as Q, and C is the same point as R. Yes, the order is important. The order is important. Okay, where you put your letters is important. If you realize this point A is the same as point P, so the position must be the same. B is the same as Q, and C corresponds to R. So if I can write it in another way. So instead of writing ABC, I can write BAC is congruent to, now instead of writing PQR, if I were to write PQR like this will be wrong. Okay, because B does not correspond to the point P. So this is wrong. Now how should we write it? BAC, we should write it as QPR. So the order is important. Okay, so now, does it matter if my shape is rotated? For example, I have this figure and I'm going to rotate like this. Is the two triangles still congruent? Yes, it is. Okay, no matter how you rotate or how you flip, as long as they are of the same shape and same size, if you rotate back, then they are congruent. Let's take a look at example number 1. Example number 1. Which shapes are congruent? Let's try. I'm going to take a red pen and I'm going to outline rectangle A. And I'm going to try to map it into B. Is it the same as B? Yes, it is. Is it the same as D? Yes, it is. But how do we know whether is it the same as C? Because C is rotated. So we just rotate and we check. Yes, it is the same. So A, B, C, and D are congruent. Now, is E congruent? No. They are of a different size. So this, we know that A is congruent to B, which is congruent to C, which is congruent to D. But E is not. Let's take a look at F. F, G, H, I, J. These four triangles. Now I'm just going to draw my red triangle. Now this is a little bit more difficult to see because some of the triangles are flipped. Now let's take a look at this. Oh, you see? Obviously G is of a different size than F. So F is not congruent to G. Let's take a look at H. You see this length is the same as this length is the same as this length, and this length is the same as this length. All three lengths are the same as the red color triangle. So actually H if I'm not wrong, it's just a rotation of F. See, I rotate twice, it fits. So F and H are congruent triangles. How about I? Let's check. This is the same length. Okay, now there is no way for me to check whether the same length for the other two sides. But yes, I is a reflection of F. So this and these are congruent. How about J? Now J is obviously not congruent because J has a right angle that none of these other triangles have. So triangle F is congruent to triangle G, which is also congruent to F is congruent to H, which is also congruent to I. That's all. Alright, this is work example 1. Now let's take a look at work example 2. Now they say given that ABCD is congruent to WXYZ, from what we have learned, the order is important. So we know A corresponds to W, B corresponds to X, C corresponds to Y, and D corresponds to Z. Now copy and complete each of the following. Angle ABC, which is this angle over here, is 80 degrees, which is equals to WXY. WXY is here, and you know they are the same, which is equals to how many degrees? 80 degrees. Okay, now what angle is the same as XYZ? Let's take a look. Where's XYZ? XYZ is the blue color highlighted angle. Now XYZ is the same as this angle over here. Okay, but can I write it as DCB? I can't, because DCB is a different arrangement from XYZ. So we must follow the arrangement. Instead of writing DCB, we must write BCD. So angle BCD is the same as angle XYZ, which is equals to 60 degrees. Let's take a look at AD. Now AD is this length over here, which I'm going to highlight in red. Now AD is obviously the same length as this, WZ, which is also 2 cm. Okay, so I must write it in the correct order. So AD equals to WZ, which is also equals to 2 cm. Lastly, WX is also the same as AB. They are the same side. So if WX is 4 cm, AB also must be 4 cm. So again, arrangement is important. AB equals to WX equals to 4 cm. Done. So this is a typical congruent question in the exams. But of course, I will not give you exactly like this. I might turn the figure or flip the figure or rotate the figure or reflect the figure. So I might change the figure a little bit. Work example 3. Like for example, work example 3. Determine whether each of the following pairs of triangles are congruent. Now, if you notice, this length, 3.68 cm, is the same as this length, 3.68 cm. Right? This 3 cm here is the same as this 3 cm here. And lastly, this 3.39 cm is the same as this 3.39 cm. Not only that, all the angles inside are the same. This 60 degrees, this purple color angle, is the same as this 60 degrees purple color angle. Okay, this 50 degrees, I'm going to use a blue color. This 50 degrees is the same as this 50 degrees. This 70 degrees is the same as this 70 degrees. So therefore, of course, with everything the same, all the three lengths the same and all the three angles the same, of course, triangle ABC is congruent to, order is important, P, Q, R, because A corresponds to P, B corresponds to Q, and C corresponds to R. Okay, now let's take a look at B. Now B is very obvious. See, although we have the same length here, 5 cm, which is also the same here, which is 5 cm, but you realize the angle is different. This angle is 90 degrees and this angle is 80 degrees. So they are obviously of a different shape. If they are of a different shape, they are not congruent. The two triangles are not congruent. Okay? So this is what example 3. Now that's the end of congruency. Please do the questions that's assigned to you in your daily lesson plan. Thank you.